This video explains how to apply standard racing tactics to your game plan, based on the information in the Tactiqs iOS app. In every race, we have to balance the strategic benefits from leveraging the environment, i.e., the wind shifts, sailing in more pressure, and the course geometry, against the highly dynamic playing field created by the other boats. The Tactiqs app provides you key metrics of your environment at a glance, so you can focus more on your competitors and boat-to-boat tactics. Let's go over the environmental factors one by one. Changes in wind direction usually provide the biggest gains and losses, so knowing the wind shift pattern and its timing is essential. When the directional shift is only right or left-handed during the leg to the next mark, we have a persistent shift. This is true even if the breeze is oscillating over a long period, but for the duration of a relatively shorter leg, we essentially experience a persistent wind shift. This gets us to the wind history graph in the Tactiqs app. You can find the current true wind direction against the average direction over the duration of the graph. The latest data is at the bottom. The horizontal bars show you 1-minute increments to time the period of any shifts. Since the boat's movement artificially shortens the period sailing upwind, and prolongs it sailing downwind, these sections are colored differently with green and blue backgrounds respectively, to help you understand the two different periods. Once you have the course set, the time to next mark tells you how long the leg is. On iPad devices, you can also open the Navigate tab to check the individual legs' expected durations. Armed with the size of the shifts and their typical periods against the leg duration, you can now determine if the breeze is indeed oscillating or persistent in relation to the next leg. The next factor is the distribution of wind pressure across the course, especially in light conditions. The wind speed history shows you any up or downward trends, and helps knowing how much to weigh getting the next puff over another tactical move. Lastly, the course geometry tells you if you have a square windward-leeward course as an even playing field, or, either due to a wind shift or a random leg course, a skewed, up or downwind leg. In the latter case, sailing the long tack first helps avoiding reaching the ley line early, and being left without tactical choices for a long duration of the leg. The course geometry for windward-leeward courses is shown in the course overview on iPad devices, which you can get to by swiping upwards on the wind graph. The bird's eye view makes a skewed course very apparent and helps you avoid getting to the ley line too early in the leg. Separately, the ley line view is a great tool for all up and downwind legs to keep your tactical options open. For example, if you are sailing upwind in a breeze that oscillates by 10 degrees over a few minutes, the actual active tactical area is 5 degrees inside of the average ley lines. Within that inner cone, you can freely tack on a shift and not overstand the ley line. Maintaining a certain margin within your ley lines in an oscillating breeze is an easy visual check in the bird's eye view and helps you keep your options open as long as possible. In a persistent shift, the same visual aid applies, however, you only need to keep the margin to the headed side of the course. In light air conditions, the course geometry is further impacted by changes in wind speed, as the target up and downwind angles change significantly in the lower wind ranges for most boat designs. Keep an eye on any trends in the wind speed to know when to, for example, jibe short before the leeward mark in a building breeze, or when to go a bit past the ley line in a fading breeze to get a hotter angle for the final approach to the mark. Now that we have the Tactiqs toolset to create our game plan, especially for the first leg, we can also create our starting strategy. Where to position ourselves on the line at the gun is a function of often contradictory goals, such as starting at the favored end, having clean air, being able to get to the side of the racecourse our game plan calls for. Probably the biggest factor in this is your speed relative to your fleet. If you generally do well in your one design fleet, or you are one of the fastest boats in a mixed handicap fleet, getting to the favored side of the course will be easier and less dependent on your position relative to the other boats. As one of the smaller or slower boats in a mixed fleet, being on the side of the line that allows you to execute your game plan for leg 1 as long as possible is critical. As an example, our home waters of San Diego often exhibit a persistent 15 to 25 degree right-hand shift over the course of the afternoon. When we find ourselves in that bottom half of our group's ratings, we will strongly protect the committee boat end, even if the pin is favored. This allows us to tack early and spend valuable time on port tack getting onto the right side before the bigger boats start to impact our wind. As the fleet stretches out over time, we now can also find intermediate lanes to get out of traffic without losing too much of the right-hand advantage. With the starting strategy set for your specific boat and fleet, the bird's eye starting line view gives you all the timing and line bias information you need. The number across the top of the line tells you the time to reach along the line. The numbers beside each line end give you the VPP estimated time to get to that end. Knowing the exact time to each line end gives you great flexibility on how and where to burn time during the last minute and get exactly to the right position at the gun. On bigger boats, a short timed run or triangle path is often used to manage time and distance. As you use the starting bird's eye view, you will be able to vary your path and boat speed better while maintaining your timing based on the time to line estimate. This will give you more flexibility to confidently jockey into the position you want, and for many tactics users has helped increase their consistency of being on the line with speed at the gun.